Putazos y Pendejadas Podcast.
Hello, everybody. Thank you guys for joining us for another episode of Putazos y Pendejadas with my partner David over in Manhattan. How you doing, David?
Doing good, man. How are you, Mark?
Good. We had an interesting weekend. We had great fights this weekend. We missed last week. I was traveling. I was over in Las Vegas in California. We missed last week, but we had some really good fights this weekend. Josh Taylor, Teofimo Lopez, and that card was pretty well. We also had the Zone. What did you think about Josh Taylor, Teofimo Lopez, David?
Mark, I gotta say, man, I thought Teofimo was done. I thought he was gonna get knocked out versus Taylor, but boy, oh boy, is it? Does it ever feel good to be wrong? Teofimo had a hell of a night Saturday. Proved a lot of people wrong. He definitely surprised, I think, a lot of the boxing fans and the boxing community, writers included, all the experts. Pretty much had him written off. Can't blame him, man. The dude was looking like he was very unstable. He was talking crazy before the fight, saying a lot of crazy things, even arguing with his dad the week of the fight in front of reporters and cameras. Can we say something about this, though? Something that I've noticed. He had very similar circumstances when he fought Lomachenko, very similar circumstances when he fought Richard Comey. The guy just seems to respond well to chaos. Whether there's chaos going around him, he shows up, he shows out, and he made Taylor look ordinary. I mean, we're talking about the unified, undisputed, actually, champion at 140 pounds, beat Regis Prograis in a very, very close fight in the UK, and Teofimo played with him all night last Saturday.
Yeah, Teofimo had an easy one there. Don't think it was too much of Teofimo. I think it was more of Josh Taylor not being there. I don't know what happened to him. I think he might have just gassed out at some point. He hasn't been active in a while. It didn't look good anyway in his last two fights, but something happened in this fight. Something happened to him. He wasn't throwing any punches. He was gassed out. I think he was just trying to survive. Somewhere around there, I think Teofimo Lopez noticed, and he kind of showed him that he knew that he was gassed out and he had a lot. In one round, he actually started jumping and hopping around, like showing him, hey, I'm not tired at all. And then came out and finished him off. I really don't think Teofimo Lopez showed me anything because I don't think he had an opponent that night. I don't think Josh Taylor got ready. For him to be gassed out like that, I still want more from Teofimo. He has more to show me. I don't think he had a good opponent in front of him on Friday night, so it doesn't tell me anything. I'm waiting for him to get somebody that's ready in front of him and see what he's really about. It didn't tell me anything. I'm a Teofimo Lopez fan. I'm happy he won. I chose the other way. I lost some money, but Teofimo's got to show me something that with somebody who's there to compete. Taylor wasn't there to compete this weekend. He was gassed out by the early middle rounds, and Teofimo was just able to play around and joke around and do everything he wanted to do. He even threw a flying punch. I mean, come on. He knew the dude didn't have anything for him. I need to see more from Teo.
I gotta say before we move on, buddy, I think Josh Taylor would disagree with you. He would say, yeah, something happened to me. Teofimo Lopez happened to me on that.
Man.
Josh Taylor offered no excuses, man. He said, I made the weight. I had a great camp. I wasn't struggling with anything. I was looking good in the gym. And that night, Teofimo was just a better man. I think Teofimo definitely, the switch in tactics to going straight counterpuncher was a big, I think, change and a real, I think, important detail. Teofimo, the coach, who's the father, talked about always telling him to stay busy and throw punches, but that's not his style. There's someone called Slick Boxing Gordo. Devin Haney's father knows about this, who knows Teofimo from the amateurs. That's apparently his nickname. And that's something, it's a fighting style of his where he's very much the counterpuncher. And I think that was a big strategical switch that affected the fight on Saturday.
Yeah, good point. But también I want to see him with somebody who's going to be there, man. Josh Taylor wasn't there. I don't know what happened, pero
Again,
but
Teofimo Lopez happened, bro. I think it's plain to see.
Teofimo showed up. He showed up prepared. He did his job. He just didn't have the opponent to show up and do his job, and it leaves us wondering, man. Like, we want to know what he really does look like at 140 against a real opponent. So I'm still waiting.
Buddy, you can't ask much more of him than to. The inactivity is fine. Inactivity, you make a good point. Josh being inactive, and then his last fight, he didn't look really good.
He gassed out. He gassed out this fight. I don't know what happened. He gassed out. He knew he gassed out. He couldn't even throw punches anymore. So, and Theo knew it. So Theo started, if he knew it, he should have taken him out. But he is a bigger.
He wasn't for a lack of trying, man.
It wasn't. Yeah.
He got to give Josh Taylor this. He's one tough bastard. That man can take shots. He took punches from Regis Prograis, never got buzzed, never got knocked. Well, he did get buzzed, but he didn't get knocked out. Yeah. He's taking shots from Jose Ramirez. He's taking punches from big punchers at 140 pounds. Teofimo was just he had Josh concerned about the power, and I think that's why Josh wasn't also throwing punches, because he saw how fast Teofimo was, he saw how strong he was, and he wasn't trying to risk getting knocked out, because it's one thing to be tired in a fight, it's another thing to want to make it and finish going 12 rounds, right? Nobody wants to get knocked out, man, and I think. And you saw a very similar response with Lomachenko, who, he might have had an injury going into that fight with his shoulder, but Lomachenko reacted the same way. Those first 6-7 rounds with Teofimo, he was very careful. He didn't take chances, and he was very wary of the speed and the power. So when you get in that ring and you see that, it makes you act different.
Good fight. Theo did his thing, but we both called that one wrong, man. But
man,
I'm glad we did, though. I'm a Theo fan. Maybe he'll get a better opponent next time around for us.
Well, did you hear the news that he's officially retired?
Yeah, he ain't retiring. He's got a contract.
So we haven't seen the last of him, in your opinion.
Yeah, he's got a contract. He's an emotional guy. He says crazy things at the end of fights. So
the contract ends this year. So all he has to do is sit out the rest of the year. But at 25 years old, do you think that's a smart move?
That's not a smart move. He's not doing that. He's just he says crazy things at the end of fights. Last time he won a close one, and the guy touched him, and after the fight he was questioning himself, and he just blurts stuff out there, and then makes us all think crazy stuff. Everybody was thinking he was unsure of himself and he had mental issues and things like that, just because of the things he said last time. At this point, I just think he just says things that, whatever just comes to his head, he just says it, and doesn't really put much thought into it either.
Yeah, my man could use a publicist. He needs somebody to try to help him work on what he's got to say and how he's got to say it, right? One thing I also like the switch at the end, just like you mentioned in the last fight, he was questioning himself, do I still got it? At the end of the fight against Taylor, he says again, ask the crowd this time, do I still got it? And it does look like Teofimo still has it. Love to see him in with a lot of the 140 pounders. Devin Haney's talked about moving up. He's also mentioned Ryan Garcia, or at least Oscar De La Hoya has mentioned Ryan Garcia, and Regis Prograis has also thrown his hat into the ring and saying, hey, I'd like a shot at Teofimo as well. Come get these belts. Let's go ahead and start unifying this division. 140 is very exciting right now. Looking forward to the fights coming in the future.
Yeah, it's an exciting division. We had a good undercard as well. Xander Zayas looked extremely good against Ronald Cruz. He continues to impress. He's going on his way. We also had Shane Mosley Jr., who seems like he's been fighting forever, man, and he's only got 20 fights or something, 23 fights? It seems like that guy's had the longest 23-fight career in history, man. He's getting up there in age. He beat Demetrius Ballard. He does need to start looking at big title fights. I think he's seeking another one, but it seems like he's just been an up-and-comer longer than I've ever seen an up-and-comer be an up-and-comer. I think he's got more sparring sessions than, great sparring sessions with great fighters than he does fights, man.
That's a tough one. going into Xander Zayas, yeah, he looks like he's the goods. He had a relatively easy time with Ronald Cruz. Ronald Cruz was not trying to play the role, play the script, but he just was outgunned against Xander Zayas. It is a little concerning seeing that. I wonder if Xander Zayas is already starting to outgrow 154 pounds. He doesn't look as strong. He's still very quick, so he has his reflex about him. He's young enough to make the weight, and even if it's a struggle for him, it's not going to hurt him too much. But doesn't look like a very devastating puncher at 154, although he did drop Cruz. But still, we it's still early. I mean, the kid has 15 fights.
Right.
He's got a lot of time. But yes, definitely he is going to be the future headliner for the Puerto Rican Day Parade weekend. Top Rank loves to own that weekend and stage fights in Madison Square Garden. I can definitely see Xander Zayas headlining that in the future. About Shane Mosley Jr., it's really funny that you said about the longest 23 fight
man, this guy's got to get going.
Well, I mean, look at this. He didn't have an amateur career, right? And he started boxing late himself. I'm sure he had been in the ring and sparred throughout his teenage years. So he has experience, but he doesn't really have that amateur experience. He's kind of in that weird zone where he didn't have a real long amateur career, but at least I don't recall that. I remember seeing Shane walk the ring walks with his father when his father was a champion.
Yeah.
Again, the hopes of the younger fighter and the son of a great champion. Whenever you have something like that, it's kind of tough to live up to. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. had to deal with that. Many sons of great fighters have to deal with living in that shadow. I don't really see anything too special about Shane Mosley Jr. Could he win a title at middleweight? It's possible. Middleweight is not that strong of a division right now. You have Yanni Beck, who right now is one of the formidable champions at 160 pounds. You still have Jamal Charlo, who is starting to get back into the ring. He's starting to train again. So does Shane Mosley look like he's going to take a belt from any of those guys? Probably not. There are a couple other titles out there floating around. But I don't know. It was still a good win for Shane Mosley Jr. Congratulations to him. Hopefully he can turn that into a title shot soon.
Yeah, man. Hopefully he needs to get going, man. He's a big name and he could sell some tickets, but man, he's just had such a slow career. Jaime Munguia goes 41-32. Had a very, very tough fight against Derevyanchenko. Derevyanchenko. He's had maybe the last 5-6 fights against big names. He's had Golovkin, he's had Jacobs, he's had Charlo, Adames. He's had a lot of fights with a lot of big names, and recently in the last 5-6, maybe 7 of his last fights, and he's only got maybe 18-19 fights in his whole career. Half of them have been with monsters, and he's getting everybody fits, man. Everybody he's given fits.
GGG.
He gave GGG fits.
Daniel
Jacobs.
Yeah.
Jacobs. He gave Jacobs some fits.
Jamal Charlo.
And he gave Munguia everything he could handle. Pero Munguia, he toughed it out at the very end. I believe he needed that 12th round, and he got it. He got it, knocked him down, and I think that did save him. He was in tough, so Munguia has never been in a situation like that. I'm glad he was through it, and he went through it okay. He's been through the fire now, so now he's going to be better prepared for his up-and-coming fights. What did you think about that fight, Mr. David?
Well, Mark, I got to eat a little crow on this one too, man. I was absolutely wrong about this. I thought this was a waste of a fight. What's going on with Munguia's career? Why is Golden Boy so careful with him? They're not eager to push him into title shots or eliminators. He had 2 chances to fight Yanni Beck for the WBO title. They passed on that. Why would you pass on a world title shot, right? Like, that's everybody desires to be a world champion. Munguia has yet to be a champion at 160. I got to admit, I was totally wrong. This was, well, I was wrong in the sense of this was a waste of a fight. This was a fight of the year contender right now. For me right now, this has got to be the fight of the year. This fight was amazing. Folks, if you did not get to check this fight out, look for it on YouTube or go on DAZN. Look up this fight. It was amazing from the beginning to the end. Mark, you're right about Derevyanchenko. That man is a monster. He can fight anybody. He gives everybody a hard time. He gave, GGG was already past his best, but he gave GGG a hard time. Many people thought he won that fight. Gave Daniel Jacobs a hell of a fight. That's actually the fight I watched. It was playing on somewhere. I was replaying, I think, on a stream on YouTube. I caught it. And I was watching. I was like, holy shit, I forgot he fought Daniel Jacobs back on the HBO days when HBO was still showing boxing. And that was a scrap, man. He had Daniel Jacobs clawing to the end. Derevyanchenko gave Munguia a lot of trouble. He has that very quirky style. He moves in and out. He's not easy to hit. And the man comes and he tries to throw shots at you and work you on the inside. He bullies you. He pushes you against the ropes. I mean, when you're fighting this man in the ring, you're going to earn your money that night. And one thing I got to say, though, as good as this fight was, how much does it say for Jaime Munguia that he struggled with a 39-year-old fighter who lost the last 4 of his 6 fights? They're all tough fights. Arguably, there are some wins in there. It could be, but didn't pull it off. A lot of people actually think Derevyanchenko won this fight against Munguia. I think the knockdown at the end of the round, I got to admit, I didn't score the whole thing. I think Derevyanchenko started out very strong. He took a lot of the early rounds. Munguia did come strong towards the end of the fight after being rocked in the 5th round. I still didn't score it, though, but I think Munguia did. It looked like towards the end he made a razor thin win with that knockdown in the 12th round. I don't know where Golden Boy goes from here. Apparently, I don't know if you saw this, Mark, in the post-fight press conference. Munguia got a call from David Benavidez Sr.
Right.
And Sr. congratulated Munguia. It was very professional, and he said, "Welcome to 168 pounds. We'd love to fight you." What do you think of that? Benavidez Jr. versus Jaime Munguia.
I like that matchup. You asked the question, what does it say about Munguia? It says a lot. He beat one of the baddest dudes at 160. I know you say he's 39 years old. I know you say he's 39 years old, but he only has like 19 fights. He's a well-preserved 39 years old. And we all know how bad of a dude this guy is. He's one of the top guys in the division. And, Munguia proves that he can beat top guys in the division and stay in there toe-to-toe and become
not at 160.
Battle. So,
not at 160 yet.
Well, he was at 160.
Who has he beat at 160?
Who?
Munguia.
Well, I mean, this fight wasn't at 160.
Well, he hasn't beat anybody at 160, and he has barely beaten anybody at 160.
He just beat Derevyanchenko.
One other thing. Derevyanchenko is not a 168-pounder. He's a 160-pounder. That's another thing. He didn't even fight a super middleweight. He fought a middleweight.
Munguia was a 154-pounder.
He started off that way, but he was way too big. He was way too big to be a 154-pounder. Munguia is legit.
He was a kid. He was a kid. You're talking about a dude that has double the fights, double the wear and tear, fought in Mexico as a teenager. When you fight in Mexico as a teenager, you're fighting monsters. This says a lot about Munguia.
No. You're not fighting monsters, Mark. You're not fighting monsters. You're fighting grown men.
He was able to go through the fire with a monster.
You're not fighting down.
Give him the putazos and still have the putazos and the power in the 12th round to knock out a monster at 168 who has faced all the big dogs, and he was able to go through that storm. He's a Mexican. I love Munguia. He answered all the good questions. He is going to give Benavidez everything Benavidez can take. He may even beat Benavidez because remember,
are you calling it?
He is 100% Mexican. And Benavidez has a little bit of Ecuador in him, so he ain't even Mexican. That's it.
I never call him the Mexican monster because I know that as well.
But no, man, Munguia, I will call it right now. I think Munguia showed me a lot, man. Going through the fire with a guy like Derevyanchenko and knocking him down in the 12th round.
Beautiful.
Benavidez been knocked down himself by a way lesser opponent than Derevyanchenko. Munguia is ready for him. And I honestly will say, I think Munguia is going to take it. I'm not going to call it right now, but if they do fight, I think Munguia will take it because Munguia is the type of fighter that is also motivated with his opponent. And if he's got an opponent like that, he's going to be heavily, heavily motivated. I can't wait for that one if it does happen. I hope it does because I think the Canelo thing fell through. So that could happen.
That's not happening. Benavidez and Canelo that's a done deal. Canelo's already talking about moving on to Jermall Charlo or possibly moving up to cruiserweight.
Munguia is going to be a problem at 168, guys.
He answered a lot of questions for you. He didn't answer many. I actually have more questions now after the fight for me. I just want to reiterate something because you said this multiple times in other podcasts or in other episodes. You keep saying when you're fighting in Mexico, you're fighting against monsters. That is not true. If you start off as a young fighter, like Canelo did. Hold on, let me finish, bro. Let me finish. Just like Canelo did, just like Jaime Munguia did. They fought as teenagers in Mexico. Devin Haney as well. What's happening is they are young men fighting grown men. That is significant. They're not fighting monsters and they're not fighting killers. All right. If they were fighting killers, those guys, Mark, those guys would be known. Those guys would be known, and they would be highly ranked professionals, and we would know about them in the States. We don't know any of the fighters that they're fighting. They're just fighting grown men as young men. Yes, that's impressive in itself, but it doesn't tell the whole story, right? Number two, again, Munguia is unproven at middleweight.
Mexico's different, Wayne.
Munguia is unproven at middleweight. He's unproven at super middleweight. He didn't even fight a super middleweight. He fought a middleweight that moved up, who was 39 years old. I still have questions. We'll see what happens, though. I love the fight.
Munguia is a junior middleweight
when he was 19. Mark. He was 19 years old.
Derevyanchenko throws bazookas. The Russian one.
19 years old, making 154 pounds. He can't even touch that anymore. That's why the man moved up to 168.
He fought a guy that only has like 19 fights. A fresh dude. You say 39. The guy's fresh. He has 19 fights or 23 fights. Munguia has 41 fights.
I'm sorry, bro.
41 fights.
I don't know if there's such thing as a fresh 39-year-old anything.
I would disagree.
Bro, and we recently crossed the 39-year threshold. We've never had a fight in our lives. We've never trained like fighters. Do you feel the same as you did when you were 30 versus 39?
No,
you didn't. And this guy had a long amateur career.
Munguia has had way more chingazos than
Derevyanchenko had a long amateur career, so he's not that fresh.
They're wearing headgear.
It still fights. He had hundreds of fights, bro. I don't know what the amateur career. I could pull that up on you, but I guarantee you, he had hundreds of fights. The man has wear and tear on him. They're not professional fights, granted, but he still had hundreds of fights. That counts for something.
I support
those are the highway miles of the boxing world.
Munguia will be going on to have a special 168 career. He can even go down to 160, have fights there. He's in a good spot. He put himself in a good spot. The undercard was pretty good as well. Sonny Edwards, Andres Campos fought. What do you think about that one? That was a unanimous decision.
For those who aren't familiar with Sonny, I'm sorry, man. I'm trying to.
Who does Sonny Edwards have after this one? I mean, pretty much.
Sonny Edwards, for those who aren't familiar with him, he's just a pure boxer.
He gets it done.
He gets it done, right? But he doesn't have power. He doesn't have many knockouts. He's actually only got, what is it, Mark? Correct me if I'm wrong here. He's 19 wins, 4 KOs. So he's not scaring anybody with his punching power. But the guy can fight. He knows how to make you miss. He knows how to make you pay. But what's interesting is for a couple years now, he's been calling out one of our favorite fighters, Jesse Bam Rodriguez. And he, right after this fight, which of course went 12 rounds, he was going to the camera and he was yelling out, Bam Rodriguez, and motioning to Eddie Hearn, sign the contract. So Sonny Edwards really, really wants this fight, wants to unify titles at the 112-pound division. I'm I don't know. This fight doesn't really yell out must see TV, but anytime Bam Rodriguez is trying to unify a division, hey, I'm for it. Big supporter of my man from the is it 210? Is it 210? From the
Yeah.
210, right? Yeah. So big shout out to Bam Rodriguez. I think Sonny Edwards. I think it's worth a challenge. So it could be an interesting fight. But as you guys can see, just looking at the footage, the guy is he's kind of feather fisted. He really is, but he knows how to fight, so it should be a good one.
Yeah, he's got good defense. He makes it happen, and there's nothing special about him, but he just tends to win every
And he's
round.
pretty tough. He's mean. He's a mean guy. He goes in there to hurt you.
What happens with Edwards is whoever he's facing, he makes them look boring as well.
Yeah.
He has the ability to take over a fight and make it his own boring fight, and it's really hard to get him out of that.
Do you think he does that to Bam?
No, he's not. No way. Come on, man. Bam's Bam, and it'll happen in San Antonio if they do fight. It's a big.
Where do you think it makes more money?
In San Antonio, Bam's.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, Bam's got.
He
Bam
just headlined his own card in the UK, man.
I just think in America it's going to be better. You go to the UK, it's going to be a different time. It's going to be during the day. Nobody's going to watch it over here, and this is where people watch fights. It's going to make more money if it's here in San Antonio. It'll sell out the Alamo Dome, and it'll be the right time for people to watch it. If it goes to England, yeah, it's going to sell out, and people are going to watch it in England, but it ain't going to have that American viewing, and that's what you want, the United States to watch the fight. That's when it makes more money than anywhere. So it makes sense for it to be over here instead of over there. You're gonna have a 2:00 Saturday fight. Nobody's gonna watch that.
Well, I mean, they had it pretty early for us on Saturday, so it's not gonna be that inconvenient.
Well, I mean, that's us, though,
it won't be that inconvenient for US fans to watch. I think it's 50-50 either way. There can be an argument for it to be had in the UK or versus the in San Antonio. I think ultimately wherever they pay the most money for that fight to happen is where it will happen. So whether that be the UK or San Antonio, I think they make more money in the UK, to be honest. But I don't know. With Bam Rodriguez being, pretty much looked at as a star. Considered in Matchroom, like they want him to be the man, and he has the possibility of being he's already a multiple division champion, 112 and 115, and they're definitely going to push Rodriguez more, so he probably has the edge there. Again, though, if money talks, man, so wherever the money is the most, that's where the fight will be hosted.
Yeah, and Adrian Broner also had a pay-per-view. Adrian Broner comes up with a little win. He really needed that, man. He hasn't fought. Well, no, he fought once in the last 4 years, right? But he's had a lot of problems. He had a lot of bad things going for him. The law's been after him. He's had several issues. Financial problems as well, legal problems. I'm glad he came out with a win. I think he needed that. I know he didn't find anybody who was anybody, but he needs that. He needed a little bit of a little positivity in his life, So
that's basically what this fight was, man.
And it was also just get him in there, get him some feeling of a pro fight again. Maybe he'll do another little small thing like this again, and then we'll see him against somebody that's relevant. I don't think he has anything to give us against anybody relevant as far as anything competitive, but he does give us a name and sells a lot of tickets, and he always makes it fun. So hopefully he gets back in there, makes it a little bit I see one little payday left in his career, and maybe he can be smart about that one, save his money, and go on about life. But that's what I see his future looking like. What do you think, Dave?
Well, in my eyes, I think if they're really serious about Broner's comeback, then they will take 2 or 3 more of these kinds of fights, get him back in the ring, get him back into the routine of making weight, getting those, that knocking off that ring rust. He's been out of the ring way too much. He's been living a lifestyle that's, it's not the type of lifestyle that extends a career, it actually shortens a career. So if he really is serious about trying to do something and win a world title, he needs 2 or 3 or more of these kinds of fights. They need to happen pretty quick. They shouldn't be 6 months in between. Again, he has a really short lifespan right now in terms of his boxing career. I think if they're definitely, though, unfortunately what I think the plan is going to be, cash him out as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Don King doesn't have a lot of time himself, and he wants to make some money off of Broner. So I don't see this. I think they're definitely going to try to cut in line and try to get him a shot at a title that's not worth it for him in order for him to make some money. And I don't see who that's going to be against right now. I think if they can get Rolly in there against Adrian, that might be somebody that he might be able to pull off a victory against. But, there's a lot of politics involved. Don King hasn't been in the game for a while now. As far as like any meaningful promotional events.
Nah.
And I don't know what kind of relationships he has with Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy, Top Rank, and PBC, who all have fighters at 140 pounds.
Yeah. I mean, I figured, he'll have a few fights, and he's probably going to be a walkover with somebody. It might not be a Rolly. It may not be anybody like that. It may be some up and coming person who they really want to shine, and then feed him to him, which sucks because he was on a path to be great, and to see what's happened, it's pretty bad. But he has a chance at maybe one little big payday and to straighten that out. Dave, we do have this weekend we have Regis Purugway, man, our guy, man, Mijo. He's fighting at 140 against Danielito Zorrilla. I guess Parro. I guess that's a no-go. What happened there?
So no, Parro was supposed to be the original opponent. He got injured, so they were looking around for a replacement for him. Barbosa, who signed with Top Rank, he was thought of as a possible opponent. Pretty good fighter. He's on a good little winning streak right now. Recently fought on a Top Rank card on ESPN, and he actually beat Danielito Zorrilla. But they couldn't lock him down, so they opted for Zorrilla, who, just a fun fact for you here, is promoted by Miguel Cotto. Zorrilla is a pretty decent puncher. He has a good knockout ratio. Regis shouldn't struggle with this guy, but this guy is no cakewalk. He's not a walkover. He's a good opponent, good solid opponent, especially considering that he was a last-minute replacement. I'm expecting a good fight from Regis. He should win. I don't know if he knocks this guy out. Zorrilla is pretty durable. Hasn't been knocked out yet. He's only lost one fight by decision. So we'll see how it goes, man. But I'm interested to see how Regis looks.
Yeah, me too, man. I'm excited for Regis. I'm pulling for Regis this weekend. David, it looks like we've ran out of time this week. I do got to catch a flight, man. I've been up and down all week last week.
Traveling, man.
Yeah, I just got to go get a little checkup in Houston. But I'll be good, man. And we will try to get back with you guys on Friday with some news and notes. Maybe even tomorrow night. I'm flying back in tomorrow. We'll play it by ear, me and you. Man, no love for Munguia with you. What's going on, man?
Bro,
no love for Munguia.
I was on the train, man. I was on the train, but I just don't like what Golden Boy. I don't like what Golden Boy has done. I don't like what they've done with his career the last 3 years.
You know who this guy is right here, right? You know who this guy is right here?
Yeah, he's his trainer.
Eric Morales, man.
That's
that was
my favorite. Eric. That's the official.
Now you're turning your back on his David.
That man that you just pointed at is the official favorite fighter for Putazos y Pendejadas.
Yeah. Oh no.
That's the official. That's our official guy.
Eric El Terrible Morales. That's
Yeah, man. Turning your back on our guys. Turning your back on our guys,
bro.
Man, no love for Munguia.
Let me tell you something about Eric Morales, man. Eric wouldn't duck a 3-foot doorway. That's how bad of a man he was, man.
Yeah. Well, he's Munguia's a badass dude, but he ain't no more.
I don't know. he's ducking everything at 160 pounds.
And you just gotta be with him, man. It's a bloodline, dog.
I like the guy, man. Hey, Munguia is a big ticket seller. He's really popular, especially in Southern Cali. I think Golden Boy is just they're noticing that, they're aware of that, they want to protect that. I say, hey, there's nothing wrong if the guy challenge the guy, see what he's about. He's 28 years old. What are you waiting for?
Yeah,
put him in with somebody. You know it's going to be a good fight because
he was waiting for Charlo. He was waiting for Charlo the whole time.
You're waiting and debating, man. While and you're letting the train pass you by. He's boxing himself.
Munguia is the train. Bow, 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 boom, and he's gonna make you eat your words, David. We'll see you guys, man.
I hope so. He's a fun fighter to watch. I just don't think he doesn't have to be undefeated to be important. Look at Arturo Gatti, man. I see him as a very Gatti-esque fighter. Reminds me a lot about Gatti. You can't. This man could be in a good fight in an empty room, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, there's the entertainment value is there. You know what you're going to get when you see Jaime Munguia against a talented opponent. You know what you're going to get. There's no guessing. There's no guessing. So put him in. Test him out. Let's see if you could swim.
Nobody wants to test, David. Nobody wants to test with that man.
Get out of the kiddie pool. Let's see if you can swim.
Oh, man. You calling me? You talking about a kiddie pool with Munguia?
Take off the little floaty. Take off the little floaty shit off the arms, man. Take off the floaties off the arms, man. Take off the floaties. Let's go. Let's go. Let's see how far you can go.
We'll see you guys, man. We'll see you. Possibly we'll do a show this week, but next week as well, man. We'll see you. We'll see you, Dave. I'll tell you right now.
All right, buddy.